Alright, now when this connector came up, there's another piece that fell out. This little spring and plunger. And that goes right up here in the front. You can take a pair of tweezers, and actually these tweezers are magnetic. You're better off without magnetic because sometimes it makes it hard to get the parts out. Alright, so the spring's in that little pocket now. This little plunger goes right on top of that. And now you can see it, and that's what provides the downward force on this, so that needs to stay in place. Now what I made is this little wooden stand, and it allows me to set this all in place and hold it there while I work on some other parts. So I'm just going to set that aside for the time being. Okay, now we got to start taking out some parts and swapping parts. This is the original one, and as you can see, I marked it with an R for Ruger. This is the original one. Just want to know which is which, and the Majestic one is still here in the bag. And also, what I did is I made a little sketch showing the way the hammer is orientated, where the hole is, and more importantly, the curve of this link. That's got to be in the right direction, and if you don't have that right, it won't work. So you have to have that curve going down. But the best way to do that is either take a picture of it or make a little sketch. So now to take this apart, I'm going to use a little wood block and actually a steel punch this time, and I've got to knock this pin out. Now the instructions tell you only knock it out just enough to get the pin out. Oh, actually that's not true. That's on another part because we're going to replace this. So you have to knock that all the way out. Okay. And then there's the pin. So I'm just going to take this Ruger trigger, set it aside, get the Majestic part out. This is where my sketch comes in handy. It's going to go just like that. And I noticed right away that it's a little bit different than the Ruger part. The Ruger part has got this little cut relief in it. The Majestic part does not. So that's why it's good to keep them straight. Now this is going to go right in there, and the pin, which is a little T-shaped pin, it's got a head on one side, is going to go in over here. Now it's a good idea to make sure that these holes are aligned really well. And if I can remove the punch and keep it there, that'd be nice. And if you have big fingers like I do, you might need a pair of tweezers or something to hold it in place. And again, I'm hitting this with the brass side of the punch. And this moved out of the way. Oop, and I got it in too far. So, oop, now it's going back the other way. Seems that first part of it's pretty easy. Okay. It's in all the way, it's flat. It looks like my sketch, so that part's that part's done, ready to go. Okay, well, we have the punch out and everything, and knocking out pins, we might as well do this mainspring assembly. And again, just like with the hammer, it's a good idea to make a little sketch of which way it goes. But this part that we're going to replace, that's the two-piece easy assembly lock bolt. That's got to go in from this direction. So I made a sketch showing that, and now I've got to knock out this pin. And this is the one that said only knock it out part way, and that's sometimes a bit of a trick, but we'll try it. Yeah, it's going down fairly easy. Still can't get it all the way out. Ah, came out. Okay, there's the old part. That we're going to set aside with the factory parts. We ever want them later. And this part's going to go in just the same way the other one came out. Except now we got to flip it over and tap it in. If it doesn't start to go right away, you probably don't have it lined up, which I didn't. Okay, it's in, it's free to move, and you want to feel that both sides are approximately flush, and they are. So now that thing is ready to go. Okay, we're going to try the assembly again. We're going to put in that spring and the plunger right on top of it. And if that doesn't work, you need a pair of tweezers. Alright, the sear is loose because the safety is out of there. And again, I'll put this down. That will help hold that plunger into place. The safety fell out. Got to put the plunger in. And my trick is to hold. Whoop. Plunger didn't even stay in for a minute here. Okay, there's the plunger on top of the safety spring. I'm going to hold this in place. Hold that plunger straight up. Sort of wrap the gun around it. And put a pin in here to help retain it. So, everything here looks like it's in pretty good shape, except the sear is up and it should be down. So the safety in the off position or the fire position, push that down, lift that up. So now the sear is held where it needs to be. Okay, now the only trick is to keep everything exactly where it is. The bushing of the hammer goes on the far side, and it goes into that little pocket in this connector. So I'm just going to slide this out part way. Try to hold it in place. Okay, the hammer's in that connector. I'm going to drop it down and try to fish this. Yep. I just heard the sear go down. And maybe, since everything else is in place, I can still push it down. Well, it may not be important. I'm going to try it that way and leave it and see if that works. Now, I really need to get this punch facing the other way, so I'm going to push it all out with this one. Okay, so all I did here is traded punches from one side to the next. And I can see the sear a little bit better now. If I can get underneath it, I'm trying to get underneath that part right there. Maybe push it from the back. Yeah, I pushed it just enough to get the hammer up. And so now that part is correct, but I've got to get this piece around here like that. So now if I can just get this pin through everything, should be set, which is sometimes easier said than done, because you're pushing the pin through a multitude of holes. And the best thing is to just keep pressure on it, move it up and down until you get some sort of alignment. Here I got a little bit of it there. Yep, that punch fell out. Oh. And I've got the pin most of the way through. The hammer has to be down. Ah, okay. I got it, but the sear's not where it needs to be. So if I can push it from the back here. Ah, okay, it's unsafe, that's why. So the sear now should go forward if I push it from the back. Lock it up. And so now it all looks like it's in the right position. So the way to tell is to take the safety off, put a little forward. Oh, the hammer does go. Okay. Maybe the hammer's not coming back far enough. Okay, the hammer has to be all the way back. Okay, the sear is holding it at this point. I'm putting upward pressure like the spring. Pull the trigger, the sear lets the hammer go, and it's good. So at this point in time, we're pretty good. We just have to watch for this link in the back, the hammer link. It doesn't get caught underneath that little cross pin right there. So usually if you pick it up, push it down. So now the assembly looks correct.